Good night to everyone. Good night to all our followers on social media, on GVD television, those of you in the comfort of your homes, and those of you who have been following us Sunday after Sunday to be present at these meetings. The energy that you bring here is what keeps us going as the members and leaders of this great organization. So I want you to know that your coming here means a lot to us. So I bring you special greetings. I bring you greetings on behalf of the political leader himself, who could not be here with us because he is out of state. But nevertheless, he will be here for the march. He will be here for this march. St. Lucia is in trouble. And we cannot overemphasize the fact that St. Lucia is in trouble. Today we are in a battle about truth and lies. It is a battle that is waging with the Labour Party. But I want to point out some very essential things tonight. So I will beg your indulgence a bit. It may not be my normal presentation. Essential truths about truth. And that is from a book, The Lies We Believe. And it is by Dr. Chris Truman. It says, truth has many important characteristics. There are 7 key qualities about truth that we should be aware of as we work on renewing our minds over the months and years to come. There is so much misinformation out there. There are so many lies being perpetuated by a government, in a parliament, and it is being documented in the history of St. Lucia, in what we call the Hansard of Parliament. And we have a speaker who is a facilitator of lies and untruths in the Parliament of St. Lucia. And if we cannot get truth from those who call themselves honorable, then where will we get truth from? Now I want to say, the writer of this book says, truth is not ours. Truth does not belong to any individual. Truth is truth all by itself. Whether you believe it, you accept it, you reject it, it does not change the fact that it remains the truth. Truth comes piece by piece. You don't always get everything one time. Truth is also a prerequisite for personal growth. It is needed if you are going to grow personally. And no wonder our country is in the mess and the chaos that it is today. Because there is so little truth coming from the government. Truth has barriers. And here are some of the barriers of truth. Ignorance is a barrier to truth. Incomplete knowledge. So some people come And they give you a one-line statement when there's a paragraph before and a paragraph after that says something completely different from the line that is read. So, incomplete knowledge. Distractedness. We get distracted by all kinds of things and we lost sight of what truth is. You know, the only shameful thing for me about being a politics is that they put all politicians in the same bracket. As if all of us are liars. The day I have to start telling lies in politics to be in politics, it tells me it is my time to make my exit out of politics. I refuse to stand on a platform and to tell lies about persons or situations. Intellectual pride. Some people have too much pride to admit that they are wrong, that they have been misled. And our country was misled in 2021. That is why we are where we are today. So intellectual pride. And you see them. You saw Thaddeus Antoine representing Ernest Hiller on Timothy's program and said, bringing a can, putting it in somebody's name is just like buying a television and sending it down to St. Lucia. Really? Intellectual dishonesty by those who occupy the highest offices and serve on the most influential boards. Forgetfulness. And you have heard a lot about forgetfulness. Some people have forgotten what they have done. And Spider, I heard they're attacking you. But the same Richard Frederick who was attacking you, he oublié le yota awete ekita police station Gozilia. And Spider was acting prime minister. He called Spider, it is Spider. Tell them drop me. Come and tell them drop me. Because you are the prime minister. And you know what Spider's response to him was? Because I was in the police station. Because I went and checked on him. He was my colleague at the time. You know what Spider's response is? But as a lawyer, you should know that as Prime Minister, I cannot interfere with the law to tell them to release you. Today you want to question. You want to question the integrity. So forgetfulness. Yo ko oublié sa yo ha fait. Intellectual laziness and apathy. And some of you flabos, you are guilty of this. Because all the lies they told you about us, some of you believed it. Ekupai vote by flabo. So hodia, whole St.Lucia ka souffre because ute suppose investigate. Ekwe la verite a pou kou. Drawing wrong conclusions. And how many times have we drawn wrong conclusions? Close-mindedness and dogmatism. Intellectual fatigue. Usav moun las. People are tired of the conversation about St. Jude. Well, you said we talk so much. Now is your time to act. So tout se moun nan gite ka di, flabo jas ka pale yo pa afanya. Mwen vle wè le match la vini, ko hot ka ye, e ki eskiz hot ni pou bay. Now I ain't talking to labor rights, you know. I'm talking to flabos. This is our cause. This is our country. And we have to rescue it from the hands of dishonest persons. a faulty perspective. And I will stop there on the lies we believe. Many of us have a faulty perspective of things. We think that because we have a job, we can take care of our family, that what is happening is not affecting us. But what affects your neighbor is affecting you. We have a government, we told you, who has no plans. And when we told you the government didn't have a plan, you didn't believe us. If you didn't believe me, look at the back of the manifesto. SLP, putting you first. A slogan. No slogan putting food on your table. No slogan not putting money in your pocket to go and see the doctor. All the beggars we have in this country for health care and medical care. Now let me show you what a real manifesto is. Look at the back page of the United Workers' Party manifesto. Alan Chasney promised you 5 for 5. Give us 5 years, and this is what we would give you. So all the unemployed people in St.Lucia who lost their jobs, if UWP was in office, one of the things we would have done, introduce unemployment benefits. So nu te kay ni insurance pour la pet to have you insurance la te kay pay salaire for a certain period of time. You gave that up and you go for putting you first. So take your putting you first now. Pa mwen ki di, c'est pour ça vote. So you are first. You're not supposed to have any problems. Number 2, monthly assistance for the needy. Number 3, save parents money on school books. You know, I just had to send a couple hundred notebooks to different parents and schools to assist them because pa mem notebook mamay ni buvin l'école. Can you believe that? The government should be ashamed of themselves. You all going and dress as if you all are school children. And our school children cannot even afford to get breakfast to go to school. What a shame. Is a comedian we have running the country. Number 4, VAT reduction. And number 5, medical care for all. A United Workers' Party under Alan Chasney would have introduced a $75,000 health insurance for each individual. And those who are not working, those who are unemployed, those who are poor and indigent, the government would have paid the premium for you. Now, UWP and Alan Chasney deliver on what they promised. We promised you 5 to stay alive. And we delivered. We wiped off all your medical bills. For 5 years, you did not have to pay property tax. You know, no memes. We like misery in this country. And we continue to believe the lies that are perpetuated. Now let me show you what planning is all about. I have in my hand here St.Lucia National Plan. That was back in 1977. 1977, Sir John Compton had a plan for the development of St. Lucia. Now, this is not blank, you know. Mase moun nan ki ka vin di ou, ba ye kou pa we sa kandidat you sab. All the plans are there. Sir John came back in 2006. And between December of 2006 and April of 2007 budget, he presented the vision plan, the quadrant development plan for St. Lucia. Sir John knew his time was limited. And in that budget address, he said, I will take you to the top of the mountain. Like Moses did, you will view the promised land, but I may not be there to take you across the Jordan to the promised land. You know what? We came back in 2016, and by 2018, we had developed a medium-term development strategy. Key results areas: agriculture, citizen security, education, healthcare, infrastructure, and tourism, under the title Nutut Assam. Sapaba ileba usav. Sapaba ileba. You see who was Prime Minister? Alan Shasney. You see who was Minister? Guy Joseph. Mwen vle Labour Party mutwa ou yo plan yo had developed pour St.Lucia from 1997 to now as a development plan for this country. We continue to make the same mistakes in this country. Chaque lele baka vini, e kou ka kite yo kwene yo. So, UWP presented a medium-term development strategy. The year is ending 2023. What has Labour Party done? Now it's all there for you to see, you know. And I have a call to the young people of St. Lucia. I want you to pay attention. You go to school. You are brighter than your parents. You get degrees. They pay for school that they themselves could not afford for themselves to educate you. So you should be able to differentiate between who can run a country and who cannot run a country. And so, I welcome the youth economy, but the youth economy can only do well if the overall economy is doing well. Is there a special youth currency? Est-ce la nan dollar pour jeunesse et qu'un différent dollar pour Guamoun? So when you tell me about the youth economy, I want you to understand. I want you to examine the information. See what is practical for yourself. Politicians can tell you anything. And that's what Labour Party has done. It's a party of talk. When they promised you jobs, they asked Kenny Anthony, what is the first priority of his government? In 2011, he said jobs. They said second priority, he said jobs. Third priority, he said jobs. Unemployment went to the highest that it had ever been in the history of St. Lucia, 25%. In less than 3 years, before COVID, under Alan Shasney, unemployment had gone down to 16% under a united Workers' Party government. That was before COVID. Remember the famous saying, something happened. You remember that interview with Kenny and Jadia? Said something happened that never happened before. We went to raise money and we could not raise money. In 3 years, Alan Chasney was able to fix the economy. That despite COVID, Labour can borrow money today because of the sound fiscal prudence of Alan Chasney and the United Workers' Party government. Just the color that represents SLP tells you everything you know. Everybody's account in red in St. Lucia these days. Everybody's in the red. No money. Buy more. My gentlemen friends who used to support 2 and 3 households, pa même on kay yo sa preke se jou sa. Sou kwe se kay do yo kay sa preke. I'm telling you, things are bad in this country. It's bad. And I feel it every day. Because I meet people who are sick. And even though I want to harden my heart and say, y'all didn't vote for Flabo, y'all would get medical care. But how can you let somebody die when you can push your hand in your pocket and give them a little something to support them, to help save their lives? But that is what Labour Party has brought this country to. The price of cooking gas. Under 2 terms of Labour, I want you to remember the price of water went up by 166.5%. When Labour came in 1997 and they changed WASA to WASCO. You remember Calix George was there and they raised the price of water by 100%. And they came back when they said they were going to deseal the Roseau Dam and they raised it again by 66.5%. The only government that reduces taxes on the people of this country is a United Workers' Party government. Ignorance is a crime. It is the worst crime against humanity. More gwa madam soufouye. Yo mette ifa advertisement lenot ka bese privat la. I pa même sav sa ka diek. Il dit tout gouvernement besoin taxe. So quitte gouvernement taxe nous. Eh ben paye taxe la à présent. Pa vin hele bay flambeau. And you know, during that time when they raised water by 100%, you know what they were doing? Selling Wasco to a French company for $14 million. 1-4, not 40. $14 million, you take a van tout sa Wasco ni for a French company. Fortunately, we won the elections in 2006 and I became the minister responsible for Wasco, and I told the Nico fella from the World Bank, you better pack up and leave. And when I reported him to his superiors to tell them, the man challenged me in a meeting to try and get the Wasco workers to rise up against me because I said we were not selling Wasco. And I told him the only place you can do that is in St. Lucia. But you just lucky I'm a different man. When I reported him to his superiors, they transferred him to somewhere in Africa. Il n'a jamais vu ici encore. When Wassa became Wasco, they promised to pay all the workers their severance pay and to begin working with the new company. It was when UWP came into office. Wasco ala su strike. Nou kiten boupe yo. These are facts that I am giving you, and it can be verified. So, you find it strange that they sell in our ports for $40 million? They say Wasco is life. They were privatizing Wasco. You take a money by a foreign company. A company by the name of Viola from France. You see, Kenny Anthony is a wicked St. Lucian. He was ably assisted by Philip J. Pierre, Alva, and Musa to execute his wickedness on the people of this country. So your patent van Wasco, gouvernement changé, Wasco is still owned and operated 100% by St. Lucia, the government of St. Lucia. Today they are selling our seaports. 40 years, Castries and Soufrière will not be under our control. Now I want to tell the people of Soufrière, all those boats who are going to the docks in Soufrière, Leu masa lot tourist Castries, ek ou descend, ek ou drop yo asu dock la Soufou ya ou kahen pe. Le private company take over port la Soufrière. Mwen vle sav ki man ya ou kayan to la wad la Soufou ye pou me emunate. You think it's me they affecting alone? Not me alone. So, now, they're negotiating for the airport. So you have a seaport la. They're in the process of leasing the airport for 30 years and to close VG Airport afterwards. Damian Greaves qui te fait study about Yoasu Airport la, VG Airport, to say it's not viable to have two airports in a small country like St. Lucia. All countries trying to have more airports. St. Lucia need the airport hot blefeme. You all forget that? So I want you to understand. When we say St. Lucia is in trouble, this is not a slogan. This is not just cheap political talk. This is a reality. The only government who really cares about the people of St. Lucia is a United Workers' Party government. And I've told you, we paid your hospital bills. We reduced VAT. We suspended property tax. We increased the school feeding program. We increased the allocations to the poor. And we kept the price of fuel locked at $13.95. And we reduced unemployment by 9% in 3 years. You keep hearing about Kenny Anthony talking about the finance management of this country. Messieurs, c'est pour ça que je dis la vérité importante. The truth is very important. And I want to share some things with you tonight so you will understand who Kenny Anthony is. You see, Kenny Anthony went somewhere that he should not have gone. You do not expect a former prime minister who has been relegated to a backseat in Parliament to make himself relevant by giving misinformation, false information, and lies to the people of St. Lucia. So here this. It was expressed to be governed by the laws of Trinidad and Tobago under the government of St. Lucia agreed to submit its jurisdiction to the Trinidad and Tobago courts. This deed of guarantee also referred to the debt service and cost overrun guarantees. Now that's the commission of inquiry that was done on the Rochamel affair, where Kenny Anthony went and signed an agreement and agreed that the laws of St. Lucia would not be used to determine what happens with the money that was being borrowed, but he was submitting to the laws of Trinidad and Tobago because that is where the bank was headquartered. Now I'm coming to the Panama issue. Ek ngay muto force mati. Kenny Anthony Kamati. Ek lay mati. Philip J. Pierre join me. Ek Richard Frederick join me. So, I have told you, I will never come and give you misleading information. On page 14 of the same Commission of Inquiry, here is what it says. And whereas the Minister of Finance considered it necessary to enter into a fully underwritten fixed rate bond of 41 million US dollars, or the equivalent in Eastern Caribbean dollars, as an issue price of 100% par value with RBTT Merchant Bank for the purpose of financing government capital works program and refinancing government obligations in respect to the former Hyatt. Now you may ask me, where am I going with this? We did not know how much was for government capital projects and how much was for Hyatt. The most recent loan that was taken in the Parliament for the stadium and for St. Jude, how much is for the stadium and how much is for St. Jude? So membe tizla Kenny Anthony Fair, Philip J. Pierre fait member, and the Parliament voted on something they should not have voted because you need to say what the cost of the project is. Nothing new under the sun. Nothing new with the St. Lucia Labour Party. So how much is St. Jude? And how much is the stadium? And here's Pierre's answer. I don't know because it has not been tendered yet. But Joshi laka travail. Ek Joshi di kai finia 1 to 18 months. Now Kenny wants you to believe that all monies borrowed goes into the consolidated fund. Isn't that what he was talking about? So here it is. I want you to understand. After the resolution was passed and the government of St. Lucia assumed thereby the authority to borrow 41 million from the Royal Merchant Bank, it did so. The Royal Merchant Bank did not, however, pay the 41 million to the government. Did you hear me? These are not my words. These are the words of the Commission of Inquiry. Kenny, I've been around a few days. And I know some things. And I know once I tighten the screws on y'all, y'all begin to attack me. But y'all can go ahead. I'm as clean as a whistle. So, you said every time you borrow money, it goes into the consolidated fund. The Royal Merchant Bank did not, however, pay 41 million to the government. The Royal Merchant Bank purported to deal with the sum of 41 million, which it was lending to the government of St. Lucia in the following ways. Tansayofe. It deducted 17,092,350 from the money for the debt of Friendwell Limited, comprising of loan plus interest. It deducted a further 584,000 for US, and it paid a balance of 23,323,000 to the government of St. Lucia. You understand what is happening there? So the parliament voted to borrow $41 million. 17 million US, 17 million US, the bank never sent to St. Lucia. They took it. And they took it to pay the loan of Friendwell. Friendwell was owned by Gavin French and a few other persons. And the Commission of Inquiry says we were not owing no money because they were never in agreement. The agreement was for cost overruns with Hyatt, not Friendwell. Kenny Anthony, you want to come now? I know they're telling me my time is almost up. You want to tell me about what is happening with funds? So let me, and Mr. DJ, I need you to stand by. I want you to play the sound bite, the first one from Philip J. Pierre. Do you have that?
Mr. Speaker, do you know
that figure? Now I want a genius. I want a mathematician. I want anybody who knows figures better than I do. Madam Treasurer, you are a banker. I have never heard a figure like this in my life before. Now, before I repeat the figure, Mr. DJ, play the figure again.
Mr. Speaker?
Now, I spent hours. I searched the internet. When I went to primary school, they taught me to count in units, tens, hundred, thousand, million. I have never heard a figure that says 2,560,190 million. Now, this figure comes from a man who is supposed to be some professional accountant. Now, mind you, he said that was commissioned on a 20 million US loan. 20 million US is equivalent to $54 million. How can you pay 2,560,190 million? I have never heard a figure that begins with million, goes to thousand, and then end with millions. Now, no, we don't have time to play it again. I just want you to understand what passes for government in this country. And when men will choose, and you know where he said that? In the parliament, you know. And you know the Gorgo Claudius is standing there. I wish to see Hansard, how Hansard would register that figure. How they would record that figure. And if there's anybody who's brighter than me in figures, write down that figure for me. 2,560,190 million. You know, when you want to, you know, these people cannot find anything on Alan Chasney. Alan Chasney has an impeccable record as Prime Minister in this country. Successful. And so, Kenny, you have failed us in every sense of the word. You took state money and you paid the debt of your friends at Friendwell. But you are able to do so because the parliament voted on it. You remember Martinez took him to court on this? He only won the case because Martinez had filed on the wrong. He took him to court for the wrong thing. The 17 million did not come into the consolidated fund. And I can tell you, Alan Chasney stands head and shoulders above you in financial matters in this country. Now, Mr. DJ, I want you to play Kenny Anthony. It's 2 minutes and 10 seconds. I want you to listen to what
I negotiated with them, with the Export-Import Bank, Mr. Speaker, and proceeded to ask for the first drawdown on the loan to begin to finance the hospital, Mr. Speaker. I requested that the money be routed to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank for onward transmission to the consolidated fund here in St.Lucia. There are many mysteries, Mr. Speaker, of the former government and how it handled money. Speaker, there are many mysteries. You know, one of the things I find fascinating about the former government, they seem to have an extraordinary love affair with this Taiwanese company. They call them, I believe, OCC, Mr. Speaker. In comes the leader of the opposition as Minister becomes Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. In comes. You know what he does, Mr. Speaker? Do you know they promptly proceed to draw down the balance of the loan which I had negotiated with the Taiwanese to complete the hospital? But you know what they do? They diverted the money, the balance of the money, to the overseas engineering and construction company, this same OCC. In other words, The money is no longer going directly to the central bank and onto the consolidated fund here. No. It is going directly to the bank account of the OCC. I can give you the account number of the beneficiary bank of the OCC. It's called a bank of Panshin.
Okay, the bank of Panshin.
Panshin.
You can cut it now.
0491136.
I have the loan agreement that Kenny Anthony negotiated that he was talking about. You see, you don't have, as a former prime minister, as a law lecturer at the University of the West Indies, as somebody who has been looked up to in this region, for you to reduce yourself to lie about something as simple as that tells me how desperate you are to become relevant again. Loan agreement between St.Lucia and the Export-Import Bank, loan number dated October 27, 2014. That's not a UWP negotiated loan. When we came into government, 10 million had been drawn down by Kenny Anthony. The other 10 million was still there. On page 5 of the loan agreement gives you the disbursement method. It says the second advance shall be in the amount of 6 million United States dollars to be drawn down at the time after the achievement of a total of 25% of the project. Now the same hospital, they are telling you that is 80% complete. They lost elections in 2016 and they could not draw down the $6 million because according to their report, the hospital had not been 25% complete. Look it in the loan agreement. C'est pas by flabo te vle quitter l'argent là. Because in the Shanta King handover report, it was clear that one of the problems was finances for the project. Listen to this further. The third advance shall be in the amount of 2,500,000 United States dollars to be drawn down at a time after the achievement of a total of 50% of the project. So they could not draw down on the 25%, and they could not draw down on the 50% of the project. And hear this. The final advance shall be after the project is substantially completed and accepted. So the balance of the money has not even been drawn yet. But what did you hear Kenny Anthony say in there? That the money was drawn down and it went into the OECC's account. Kenny Anthony. That is the greatest untruth that has been perpetuated, and that is going in the documented archives of the Parliament of St. Lucia. But where Claudius sans honte, you are the same Claudius who, when Kenny Anthony was prime minister and you are press secretary and you are fired, or you are relieved of your duties, they said it was for you to go and study. Pa mem rata ile tu halai study. Ajije we pou laglite. So you think we don't know what went on when you were removed as press secretary to Kenny Anthony? So you're making up now. And y'all are using the Parliament of St. Lucia to perpetuate all these lies. I have documents in my hand to substantiate what I am saying. there is no Taiwanese account in Panama. OECC does not have any Taiwanese account where monies went to. You know where Paishin Bank is? It's in Taipei City. And if you want to see what I'm saying, any one of you, go to Google now and put Paishin Bank. Panshin. P-A-N-H-S-I-N. Bank. And you will see that this bank is an established bank in Taiwan. And the money came from the Exim Bank and went to OECC because that is the arrangement of the loan. Not Kenny's loan, you know. The loan that was taken by the United Workers' Party government of 20 million US dollars for the St. Jude project. Why would a former prime minister? Why would a parliament? Why would a speaker of the house allow a former prime minister, a former minister of finance, to come and say all of these things in the Parliament of St. Lucia and not ask for one shred of evidence to back up what he was saying? So, I am establishing as a fact tonight, I think the pronunciation is Examen Boulevard, 68, floor 27, Taipei City, Taiwan. That is where the account is, and that is where the money went to. Now, the Exim Bank is a bank of the government. So when you say, the Exim Bank, when I made inquiries from professionals in the service, they said, I can guarantee you, the Exim Bank would never go outside of the signed agreement and send any money to the OECC because that was not the terms of the agreement. Why would Kenny Anthony do that? And you know, says Elevlia, Philip J.P. had jumped on this, and that's why he said 2,560,190 million was paid. How you can pay 190 million from 54 million? In the desperation to tarnish Alan Shasner's name, they are misleading the parliament. They are perpetuating lies. And they are giving you false information. And that is why I made the presentation on truth and the lies we believe. A speaker with questionable abilities degrading the office of Speaker of the House. That is the worst the Parliament has ever been. Look, Sarah is sitting across there. That was one of the most professional speakers we've had in a UWP government. Since the days of the late St. Clair Daniel. Usavan dite havan noa denye parliament. And you know, when you listen to this thing that Philip J.P. said, some parliamentarian shouted in the background, what? Now I am still confused as to whether he's saying what for the figures he heard or whether he's saying what for all the money they think that went into. Now, as for me, I have never heard that figure before. I will try and find some university lecturer When I did accounting, when I was doing my master's, I had a fellow who was teaching me accounts, balance sheet, assets, liabilities, receivables. Imagine one figure. I don't know if our treasurer knows it. Now, I don't know. It looks like Kenny is trying to outdo Pierre, and Richard is misleading the House with false information. Kenny, you cannot go back in time. You cannot undo what you have done to the people of Viewfort. You cannot undo the wickedness that you have done to the people of St. Lucia. It is too easy to point out the inaccuracies. UWP don't come and tell you lies. Imagine being in a government with one of your key ministers, a former PM, in bed with the opposition and trying his best to undermine all that you have done in government. This is Stevenson King. Now people say that's politics. I say to you that is not politics. To sit with us for 5 years, to undermine every program of the government, to be giving operatives of the Labour Party work in Central Castries unknown to Sarah as the parliamentary rep. Stevenson King did everything to undermine the UWP for 5 years. But despite that, we were able to accomplish more than any Labour Party government has done for the last 15 years. Can you imagine if all the ministers were working together? And he held a key ministry. We were able to achieve. We as St. Lucians see this as politics. But I said this is not politics. This is the character and the nature of a devious individual. An individual who will do anything to satisfy his personal ego. This is not politics. They still have people with integrity in politics in St. Lucia. And if you cannot find them on the Labour Party side, I am certain that you can find men and women of integrity on a United Workers' Party ticket. Our words must mean something. Imagine a cabinet of ministers who cannot even be trusted with their cell phones in a meeting. Do you know that this present Labour Party government has a policy that ministers cannot enter the cabinet with their cell phones? Now, that is not the problem. If a man cannot be, or a woman cannot be trusted with their cell phone, but we have trusted them with our lives, the affairs and the budget and the treasury of this country. That is what all right thinking St. Lucians must contemplate. Why can't the Prime Minister trust his ministers to have their cell phone? So Maha trusts work on cell phone in my presence, but I can trust you to hold my checkbooks with signed checks. I have some questions about the launching, but I'm coming to this in closing. We have to ask ourselves tonight, is Philip J. Pierre more afraid of Richard than he is of answering to the people of St. Lucia who voted him into office. Ek magay madesan patwa. Es Philippe J. Pierre pli père Richard. Passé père se mouna qui vote bali pour mettre en office. When it was UWP, a private investor was building a horse racetrack. It was horses before hospital. Do you have a hospital? No. But you having a racetrack just now. So what is before the hospital? In closing, the final thing I will say, when Richard speaks, he speaks on behalf of the Prime Minister. So I heard the cries, I heard the appeals. Where is Richard the minister? He is a minister in the Prime Minister's office. So when he speaks for the Prime Minister. So all the threats, all of the attacks on every St. Lucian that happens on this talk show is facilitated, endorsed by Philippe J. Pierre. So you have nobody to turn to. Your only hope is to turn to the United Workers' Party and to vote for Alan Chasney and the United Workers' Party. I thank you, good night, and God bless you.